Turn your phones on, Chris.
My phone is never on. That's why I don't answer your texts. Live from New York. It's a show that's just totally locked in on the
Brew
prep.
hasn't even looked up.
It's first things first. I like it. Today, you got to love them. Both of these teams facing the same narrative. 0-3 against teams that are over 500. They're putting up 14 and 17 points, even though they are high-powered offenses, while their opponents are putting up Larry Bird-esque 33.
Wow.
So, Nick, who has more to prove, the Cowboys or the Dolphins?
It's unequivocally Miami. I don't know if Brew agrees or not, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't. To me, the question for Dallas is, because what we showed right there is Dallas's record on the road against teams above 500. Right. They obviously have a win against Philadelphia, and I think in a few days they're going to magically have a couple extra wins against teams above 500 because the Rams and the Seahawks are, I think, going to be above 500. Sure. But again, those were not road games. And so the question for Dallas is, can they win consistently on the road? I think it's slightly overstated, but it is a legitimate question. The question for Miami is far more basic and far more ominous. Can you beat good teams? Like, that is, no matter where the game is played, can you beat good teams? Can your defense even show any resistance against competent quarterbacks? Those are real questions. And Miami this year, we can show you the quarterbacks they've beaten versus the quarterbacks they've lost to. There's one good quarterback on that list, Justin Herbert. That was week 1, and the Chargers scored 34 points.
Russ?
There's one good quarterback on that list, Justin Herbert.
Your guy, Sam Howell's next.
And so I think it's like reverse chronological order, but it doesn't matter about the reason for it. I'm not sure the ordering of it.
Looks like it.
Something along those lines. But regardless, for Miami, their best win this year is either against Russ or Aiden O'Connell. Right. Post Herbert, I should say. And as far as best team they've beaten, it's probably the Broncos, who are not right now going to be a playoff team. Record-wise, it is.
Yeah, but that team was not.
Exactly right. When they beat the Broncos, the Broncos were not even. So then it probably honestly is
the Chargers.
I think Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders. Honest to God, probably.
Right.
And so I'm not acting like Dallas has no questions, but I think Dallas has proven a lot this year while they still have more to prove. I think Miami has mostly left to prove. I think Miami, we know what they are, and I think we kind of know what they're not. And so I think Miami has far more to prove.
Yeah, look, I think Dallas has more to prove than Nick does. I don't belittle their questions as much as I think you did. Yes, they have to show they can win on the road. And you're right, maybe some of these teams that they beat will have winning records shortly, but still, they haven't played great against teams with winning records at this point. So they've got that to prove. But you're right, it's Miami. Okay. There's no doubt about it. And look, the bit about them being break dancers and wanting to settle disputes with dancing rather than fisticuffs, I know it's funny and all that, but I really believe that to my core. Like, I believe they're a cute, fun, flashy team, a finesse team in a league where sometimes you just got to knock a dude on his butt.
Sure.
And I don't know that that's them. Okay, and so to me, they have more to prove. I think Dallas, despite their troubles on the road, despite their troubles with good teams, is a tough team. I don't think they're soft. And so if they beat Dallas, this will go a long way in making me feel a lot better about Miami. In fact, the rest of the season, they got Baltimore after this
and then
Buffalo. So we're going to find out what the Dolphins are made of. And, yeah, they got more to prove.
If Miami loses, are we going to come on and be like 5-alarm fire, the Dolphins lost? No. If Dak loses this game, he would fall to 0-4 on the road against winning teams. He's averaging 6.5 yards a pass. He's got 220 passing yards. His passer rating 78.
Hold on.
I feel like Dallas has more to prove.
It would be
Go ahead.
Oh, Dallas has more to prove.
I feel like Dak and Dallas have way more to prove.
So
if one team loses, it's a calamity. If Miami loses,
but that's because we don't believe in Miami.
Yeah, exactly right.
Do you believe in Miami?
That's the problem.
Like, we think Dallas is a legit contender.
That is Brew got it exactly right. The reason so I guess let's follow your hypothetical further. Miami beats Dallas. We think it's a calamity for Dallas. Why? Because it means we don't think they have any real chance of going on the road and reaching the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Miami beats Dallas. We then think, what about Miami? Same thing. that they're not going to make this. Like
Josh Allen beat Dallas, and all of a sudden,
now, if they beat Dallas, I'll believe more, and it will impress me. I won't think they're better than Kansas City or Baltimore.
Right. Well, right. And with Dallas, the issue with Dallas is not that you don't think they can beat Detroit. The issue with Dallas is you don't think they can beat San Francisco, and some people think they're not going to be able to beat Philadelphia.
I'm also not sure they can beat Detroit.
I think they got Detroit. I think they would. Well. I think Detroit, what Dallas has working against it if they play Detroit in the playoffs is either game would be in a dome. Well, either way, you know what I mean? And that's where Detroit cooks the most. But I think big picture-wise, I am more concerned by if your team struggles against a certain type of team than if your team struggles venue-based. And what we can't say about Dallas is they can't play well against the A-list quarterbacks. Both these teams have beaten Justin Herbert, but Dallas also beat Matt Stafford's team. They beat Geno Smith's not an A-list quarterback, but a good quarterback. And they've played, in my opinion, very well against Jalen both times. And so that, to me, Dallas has the personnel and the road game stuff. The reason I said it's slightly overblown is I understand it's last season, but it's the same people. We saw the Cowboys go on the road and blow out the Bucs in a playoff game.
The team was not good.
Okay, but it's still a road playoff game that they won by 30 points.
That team was no good.
That was a bad Buccaneers team. But they weren't they 8-9?
No, I understand. I guess, but again, I'm sorry. I don't want to be redundant here. But isn't the part of the Cowboys' concern that they're going to be on the road in round one of the playoffs against what? A Buccaneers team?
Not round one.
So you're not worried about them in round one,
against
no matter
Tampa
what the
Bay?
Okay.
I know you guys love Baker Mayfield, but no. I'm worried about S-Bob.
Okay.
I know y'all think winning a playoff game is going to be impressive. S-Bob. Okay. And that's what the problem is with them being on the road.
And what does the last B in Bob mean? The bust. What would happen then?
It's like your must win. You of all people should.
He checked in you.
Is must win like, oh my gosh, the season's over, they're done, they got to stop playing?
No.
Then neither is bust.
Bro, it's taken 16 weeks, but you got
I was saving it for when he really got attitude.
I've just been on your side, so I haven't wanted to use it.
He tried to muscle up and sun me. He tried to sun me. So I said, you know what? It's time.
It was the opposite. I was asking a legit question.
Well done.
What is going on?
He had that coming.
Tua, paradoxically.
What? You know what he should have done there, Wildes?
Belichick.
No, he should have done what his coach told him he's allowed to do.
Yes. Well, I don't think he knows what keep receipts mean. I think that's what's obvious from that. Because he said, I keep receipts, and then everything he said after that was I don't keep receipts.
But go ahead.
I mean, the question is overrated, underrated, or properly rated, but the quote is that's not good.
I mean, it was good
really
for us. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun for the audience.
It wasn't great for them.
No. So overrated, underrated, properly rated.
Nick, I think this is an interesting and somewhat tough question because I'm not totally sure where Tua's rated.
That's a good point.
Like earlier in the year, he was in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was ridiculous, but I thought, I don't really think he's that level of quarterback. He's 6th right now, which, okay, whatever.
Odds, yeah.
I'll say this. If you think he is a bottom tier 2 quarterback, I think that's about properly rated. I don't know where people have him, but if it's bottom of tier 2.
So does that mean, give us an approximate ranking, like around the 10th best in the league? Is that where you have it, around the 8th best?
Maybe, 8 to 10, 11-ish in that area.
That's
now,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's good. So, now, look, here's it. He's got, and I know we talk about, and I'm not trying to make it a Brock Purdy conversation, but we talk about, okay, so fine, because I got some ammo there. But Brock, we talk about Brock
hold on, I have to interrupt you.
No, because I knew you were going to make it.
Just did something. He's like, hey, guys, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make it a Brock Purdy thing. And then he's like, in his head, he's like, but if it is, I've got 17 full screens for you.
Because,
but go ahead.
Honestly, you and I off the air have been like, Tua Purdy,
yes.
eye test. I like Purdy a little better, believe it or not, even though one was such a high pick and one was such a low pick. But they both have tons, like Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane. Like, Achane's averaging like 8.5 yards a carry. So those
receivers.
2 and Christian McCaffrey, they both got – I actually think Miami's got better wide receivers.
Definitely.
The 2 wide receivers.
I agree with that.
Tyreek's best in the league, and then Jalen Waddle. And so you say, okay, well, what about him and Purdy? Here's the difference, I would say, Nick. Purdy has done it against the good teams. Like, that's the difference between Purdy and Tua. Here's Tua against teams with winning records. 0-3, which is, that's not all on him, but 230 passing yards a game, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 89. Here's Brock Purdy, just to say the two, since you're going to bring it up, and 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions,
no question,
and a passer rating of 121.6 against winning teams. So one does it against all teams, one only does it against the bad teams.
I think Tua is perfectly rated. It's one of the reasons. Which is right where you had him. That nobody thinks he is the bus driver. Nobody thinks that. Listen, Tua leads the NFL in completion percentage. He leads the NFL in passing yards. He is second in yards per attempt to Purdy. Yep. He is second in passer rating to Purdy. Yet for some reason, and this is what frustrates me a bit, I will admit, I think we are pretty level-headed about Tua. I think, hey, he's good. Hey, he's good. Should he be league MVP? No, of course not. He's not even the best player on his own team. Like, with Tua, and if I were a Tua fan, I would say, yeah, except we have the Tua Purdy conversation backwards. Because we've seen the Miami Dolphins without Tua. They collapsed. We saw the Niners last year before Purdy got there on a winning streak, right, with Jimmy G. We've seen Tua this year, just this past week, hang 30 and play great without Tyreek. We saw Purdy when he struggled without his guys. So I think Tua fans would be like, yeah, they're similar, except our guy has proven more than the other guy has. Our team falls apart without him. Our guy just had a great game without his best player on the team.
That was impressive.
That was very impressive. And so what is like just frustrating to me is I see 2 quarterbacks that I think I think Brew and I agree, eye test-wise are in the same neighborhood.
To me, Purdy's more impressive. But
they're in the same neighborhood. They're in the same offensive system. You could argue their teams have the best and second best offensive weapons in the league. Their records are 11-3, 10-4. Their stats are first, second, second, first. And one guy is up there at the press conferences saying, listen, I know the narrative. I'm bad at football. I can't play. And the other guy at the press conferences, it's like, hey, man, what suit are you going to wear when you accept the MVP award in a month? And it just strikes me as incongruous.
If Purdy was drafted where Tua was, and Tua was drafted where Purdy was, like I firmly believe this, and I think you would be on this side. If Purdy was drafted where Tua was, it'd be over. Everybody would be like, he's MVP. Period. It's done. I don't think in fact, I think if he was a 4th round or higher pick, it would be over. It's just because he's Mr. Irrelevant, and we can't believe.
Yeah, we bet Christian McCaffrey's never been this good.
His numbers are better than ever.
I buy that.
McCaffrey.
I buy that. Overall, I do think we missed the forest for the trees a little bit.
What do you mean?
On the conversation. I feel like Tua's quote was really bad.
Why?
So what? Tell us.
I just feel like I just don't think he should have been saying any of that. And he opened up and was honest with the media like he's kicking around with his friends. He should have just been stone-faced, like, to be honest with you guys, I'm 100% locked in on the Cowboys. But instead, he's like poured his heart out about the narratives when Mike McDaniel did his thing, not to be clever, although it was clever, because I think Mike McDaniel felt a little bit of that percolating in the locker room and he wanted to tamp it down. And Tua just kind of let it loose.
Can I throw a counter at that quickly?
Sure.
I don't think it's what he said. I think it's Tua's delivery and tone of voice. I think it kind of changes how he is read. I think if he had said the exact same words, but with anger in his voice, but he never speaks with anger, it wouldn't have sounded unconfident. If he said, yeah, I know the narratives. I suck without Tyreek. I'm a bad football player. I've kept the receipts. It's fine. I don't care about any of it. But yeah, without Jalen Waddle, I can't play. If the transcript read the exact same, but his delivery were different, I don't know if it would have come across that way. But he always gives that. He's a soft-spoken, mild-mannered guy. And so I think his delivery makes it seem like he's not confident. I personally don't think it's what he's saying. I just think it's how he delivers messages is why he's taken like that. Maybe you disagree.
You actually convinced me more for Wildes' point, because if he had gone up there yelling that, I think we would have been like, dude is really concerned about what people think about it.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good guy. I mean, he comes I think that's one thing you're saying, and he comes off well. I think he was being honest, but it's going to boil down to how he plays.
Yeah.
If he goes out here and rips the Cowboys, then we're going to be like, hey, he's just a
he'll
good
be back
guy.
in the MVP conversation.
Could be.
Super Bowl odds: San Francisco at 1, Baltimore's at 2. The Chiefs are at 3. Then it's Miami, Philly, and then Dallas, who Vegas knows can't beat the 49ers. Better bet to win the Super Bowl: Cowboys or Dolphins?
Look, I don't think the Cowboys can beat San Francisco, especially if they have to play in San Francisco. I think Philly's better than the Cowboys, but, that you can argue about that. But I think at least the Cowboys are like a contender.
There we go.
I don't think Miami, and people I think Miami, if they get the number 1 seed, which is a possibility, people might give them that. But I just don't think they're close to Baltimore or Kansas. I shouldn't say close, but I don't think they beat Baltimore or Kansas City. Dallas,
you think there's
I only see one team they definitely can't beat, or at least in my mind, and that's San Francisco. So, yeah, the Cowboys, my questions about them are maturity, lack of maturity, whatever you want to call it, the culture I don't like and all that stuff. But Miami, I just don't think – I have some football questions about them, whereas Dallas is not necessarily on the field. They can do everything when they need
Right. They're the number 1 and number 2 scoring offenses in football, difference of a point. So let's call their offenses a wash, Dallas and Miami. And Dallas has the far better defense by any stat or eye test or anything. And what?
I think you should take a little bass out of your voice for that.
Why?
Because the Bills just put up 262
What did the Bills
yards
do to
on the
Miami?
ground.
I missed that game. I wasn't watching.
But I'm a recency guy.
Okay, yeah, of course.
The Broncos put up, they scored 70 on the Broncos. The Broncos have a good defense now. Just saying, the most recent data I will take.
Okay,
and Dallas'
listen,
ran over.
it's not the most recent data you'll take. It's that the most recent data very often you will act like is the only data, which is a frustration you and I have. This is what led you to believe the Patriots were going to beat the Chiefs because they had a good defense for 3 weeks.
But now the Chiefs beat the Patriots. All of a sudden the Chiefs scored more than 30 points.
No, listen, I was not trying to get in a contentious argument with you, Kevin Wildes, about something you don't even actually, I think, disagree with me on. I was trying to support Brew, which is, I think what you're saying, Brew, is in your mind, the actual Super Bowl contender pool is 5 wide. That it is in no order: Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, Philly, and Dallas.
That's how
that you view it as that, barring a cataclysmic event, the Super Bowl winner is coming from one of those 5 teams.
Yes.
And for the record,
and the other team, if I threw one in there, would be Buffalo.
I knew you were going to say Buffalo.
I don't think they would.
And so, right. And by the way, Brew,
before Miami,
I totally agree with you. I think that we are, at this point in the season, we can say teams like Detroit, Miami, a team getting hot right now, we're going to talk about later, the Rams, or a team getting hot right now in this conference, the Bills, they are in a different group. That the Super Bowl champion is going to be Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, Philly, or who did I leave out? Dallas, pardon me. And that's it. And so I agree. I think that Dallas is a better bet because I think they can win it. I don't think Miami can win it.
I might jump on the Miami bandwagon.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.